Let's talk about our 2023 trends, some of the trends that we see coming up, as well as we're going to talk a little bit about some of our speakers for the upcoming 2023 symposium and why that matters. Even if you're not going to the symposium, these folks are talking about some of the topics that are really important for you, and you can check them out in other ways. But of course, we'll hope that you're going to join us in San Diego March 26th through 29th for our annual professional development symposium. But before we talk about that, let's get into some of the trends that we're seeing for 2023. And I'm going to bring up a slide. So we just were talking about these in our Career Thought Leaders Associate call. We have quarterly calls with our Career Thought Leaders Associates. We really enjoy seeing what those folks are up to and what they're interested in. And I'm going to share this slide with you here of the trends that we talked about. And they added some new ones to it, so this won't be the end result. But as I've said before, we'll kind of put these up in a poll and have you help us decide the top 5 to 7 megatrends for 2023. So here are some of the things that we're looking at, and I'm going to share a little bit of data around some of these as we go. One of the things that we've been talking about for a while here on our trends calls is the proactive recruiting tools that are being used and why that's leading to a new way of networking. It's not really new. It's more focused and helping people understand how to use tools to connect and proactively reach out instead of just sitting around waiting to get found, which you know is one of my passions. This is becoming even more important with some of the tools that recruiters are using. We had awesome presentations, actually we had a couple of awesome presentations at Career Jam last year on these technologies. Marvin Smith joined us from Seek Out and talked about Seek Out and what they're doing. And then we also had Adrian Tan join us from Singapore and talk about some of the job seeker technologies that people are using to manage their work, right? To manage this new outreach process. So we'll probably have more speakers on that topic in Career Jam this year, but we'll see how everything pans out. It is a big area, whether it's applicant tracking systems or systems like Seek Out that are doing that proactive search. Or then we saw the other day that LinkedIn has new systems that will tell people if you're putting fake or false information. There's a lot of technology out there right now in the job search and recruiting space. Then talking about retirees to returning to work. So this has become a huge topic recently. You're seeing retirees come back to work, and maybe I would just thought it was, because of inflation, right? And there's so much that they're trying to do. And then I saw some research, and there's always many different things out there, but I saw some research, and I'm going to pull this up here, talking about how it's not necessarily that the finances, but that it's also that people are, bored is what the word they use, that people are bored and they want to come back to this workforce because they want to re-engage, right? They want to get back into the groove and see people. And so that's what this research found. This is from Job List. So some market report from Job List. You'll see some familiar themes here in their report where they're talking about the recession. You'll see that later in our trends. And then inflation, gas prices, great resignation becomes the great regret, and then unretirements being on the rise. And so that's which one I'm focused on here right now, is that there are, there's people coming back into the workforce, 27% for financial reasons and 21% for inflation specifically, but 60% saying that they are looking for something to do and 53% happy to go back to work. So this is a big group for us. If we're in the career space and you're helping people, how can you reach out to this audience, put some special services together that can help them re-enter the workforce if that's what they're looking to do? Whether they retired, or we do have a population that may be a little bit younger and took off either for caring for aging family members or for children. Of course, during COVID, you're starting to see more and more of those folks coming back as well. So retirees, this kind of re-entering the workforce for many different reasons is a big trend right now. And drop me a note in the chat. Are you seeing this? Are you seeing people come back for these reasons? I'm going to drop this link in the chat. It doesn't show up everywhere, but we'll go through and make sure it gets on all of the chats as we get through later and come back and see what you all are saying. So there are people coming back to the workforce for many reasons, retirees being one of them, re-engaging in the workforce. And again, for 55+% of people, that is a happy thing. They're doing it because they want to, they're excited to come back to work. So if you're working with that audience, drop me a note and let me know. If you're viewing for other from somewhere else, just give me a note. I'd love to see and say hello. So that is our second trend. And again, these are in no particular order, in the order that we talked about them in our Career Thought Leaders Associate call. And then the uncertainty of the economy. You had the big boom and lowest unemployment ever and all of those things. And now you have recession, as we were just looking at in that job list article. 80% of people are concerned about a recession. It is this kind of boom and bust, but in such short order that people's heads are spinning. And what does that mean for me? What does that mean for my job? If I did, resign, will I be able to get back? If I was thinking about resigning, should I still do that? Or should I stay put? These are the types of questions that our clients are grappling with, and that we can help them figure out what's the best step for them. Along with that comes this salary shifts, and salary shifts have happened for a lot of different reasons. Obviously because of the remote work, and also because, what are we going to do to get everybody across the world paid the same? And then also seeing some shifts based on pay equity. So am I, being equitable across my company, and pay transparency? So more companies wanting to be transparent. You saw California looking to pass legislation around pay transparency. Colorado already has. I think New York is also considering some of that legislation. You're seeing more and more being done in the salary space, and it's causing people, again, just that upheaval. It was a great time to ask for a raise a month ago. Is it still? And how do I know what to do when everything is so uncertain? And this is another area where people could really use our help in terms of figuring out what that looks like. So I've got a few articles for you on this one. One of them is one that I think I've shown before, but it's really focused on the remote work and what Yahoo calls a seismic shift in how people are getting paid. And how are people negotiating? Do they understand what's going on there in terms of the salary shifts? And are they doing their research to really key in on what is going to be a good fit for them? What are they, what's realistic, if you will, for them? And so this talks about how it's mainly in the tech field, but also some other areas and geographies and industries where you're seeing some shift in salary. So this is a great article. Again, I'll drop it in the chat and then come back and get it into the chat in LinkedIn, because I don't believe that this chat will show up in LinkedIn. But I'd love to hear if any of you are seeing some of these shifts in salary, some of the shifts in salary due to remote work, or other types of salary shifts that you're seeing that we might be able to help share some resources around, because there's just so much going on. So this other article is talking about an overall increase in salary. And this is part of the challenge, right? You saw this increase in salary before. Is it still there? Is it still real as we start talking about a recession and companies start struggling a little bit more? So this is talking about the Bureau of Labor Statistics, private sector wages and salaries growing 5.7 year over year. That was in the second quarter. So what does that look like now that we're in, the end of the third quarter? It'll be interesting to see what that data looks like as we get that third quarter data back. and how do we help our clients deal with some of the uncertainty there and still negotiate the best that they can for themselves, and walk that line, if you will, between what the huge gains may have been and has there been a little bit of falter in those. So this is that article there from Sherm. And this will be in the chat, and I'll figure out how to get it in LinkedIn's chat. If you're on LinkedIn, you know that it's really hard to access the chat. So you may flip over to YouTube or Facebook and you'll be able to access the chat a little bit easier, but we will get that chat in there into LinkedIn as well. All right, if you're joining me, feel free to say hello. Love to hear where you're joining from and what kinds of trends you're seeing as we look forward towards 2023. So here's just a few other ones that we're seeing. Rise of unions. So our board member in the UK, Ruth Winden's been talking about that. And of course, we're seeing it in the news here with conversations, especially high profile like Amazon. Work-life balance and quiet quitting. That is a very messy conversation right now. Feel like work-life balance and how to set boundaries and, going above and beyond, all of that's being kind of confused in this conversation. Maybe we'll talk about that again at some point. And then the younger workers struggling with remote work. How do we help younger workers? And when I see these articles, it talks about Gen Z, but this is not really a generational issue. It's a developmental issue that when you're young in the workforce and you come in and you want mentorship, you don't know how to connect with people, you don't know how to do your job. And so how are they navigating that as a new professional, as a young professional, being able to find a mentor, being able to understand how they learn their job? This is another area where if you are working in the career space, it's a great opportunity to connect, see if you can offer some resources, some coaching around how you get into the conversation at work, how you recreate the water cooler conversations remotely, how do you find a mentor, all of those skills that when we were in person, were a little bit easier. Now our young professionals may need someone to help walk them through that. How do they make those connections, right? And so I've got this is not really a data point, but it's an article from Teen Vogue talking about Gen Zs being at that professional disadvantage. And then this was an Indeed study that 97% had never worked full time, 92% never worked full time in an office. So they need help, right? They need someone to help them understand how all of those pieces go together. And so we'll share a little bit more research around that, especially if this is chosen as one of our top trends. But this is why it's on the list, is because this is something people are talking about and that our young professionals are struggling with. How do they integrate into an office? And I think some of the conversations we're having right now are somewhat confusing to them too, that you're not supposed to go above and beyond, that it's okay to quiet quit. How can we even watch some of what we're saying in our language and being careful with how we're explaining some of these things so that it isn't confusing and isn't maybe getting in the way of them being successful. It's really something they're looking to our industry for, that how do they find a mentor? How do they find work-life balance? How do they talk to their boss about that balance and those boundaries? Because long-term, it will hurt their career if they don't learn how to have those communications and they just quiet quit. It's the quiet part of that I hate, because when they are doing that, it's only hurting them. They're going to get the reputation for not being a hard worker or whatever it is. And you can say that, that's good, but in the end, it is going to hurt them. So how we have those conversations and the nuance that we explain it, I think is important, especially if we work with that age group. So those are some of the trends that we're seeing. And again, if you're seeing anything else, we'd love to see it. The last one on my slide, I'm not going to bring my slide up again, was shifts in education. Of course, we know online education is changing. In-person education is changing, and look forward to talking about some of the trends there as well, especially with those of you who are in higher education and education space, to see what you're seeing and how things are shifting for you. So when we talk about those trends, we'd love to hear what you're seeing. We'll be posting the link to that poll here in this chats of these. And if you've been chatting along with us on these topics, we'll make sure that you get notice of that so that you can help us choose those 5 to 7 megatrends for 2023. And then we build a lot of our content around that moving forward into and through next year. So look forward to your thoughts on that and the trends, and watch for that poll link that will be dropping probably later this week on these posts where we've been talking about the trends. Okay, so now we get to talk a little bit about our 2023 symposium. And sometimes people plan way ahead for these things. You may think like that's forever away, Marie, but it's actually coming up fairly closely. Not as closely as I thought it was. I did get a math scholarship, but the other day I was kind of saying, oh, it's our 6 month, we're going to have our 6 month payments going to end. And then I realized that we were 8 months away, not 6 months away. We will have our payment plan ending in September, even though it's 7 months away, so that you are going to be done with your payments a month before the event. You can save up your money to do something fun, take yourself out to dinner, or whatever it's going to be when you get to San Diego. However, most importantly is all the people that you'll meet, in addition to the wonderful speakers that we have so far who have committed. So we have other speakers that we hopefully will get to announce even just on Thursday in our newsletter. But I have a few that I wanted to introduce to you today. And let's see if I can do this without fumbling too much. So Petra Zink, some of you are familiar with Petra. She spoke at our 2021 symposium, which we had virtually 2021. And she is dynamite. She talks about how to help your clients become a trusted authority. She's one of our certified personal brand strategists. She's taken it to the next level, and she teaches a system that you can use for yourself to become a trusted authority and that you can teach your clients. So she's going to do a keynote. She's coming all the way from Brisbane, Australia. So she's also going to do a in-depth session where she'll take you through her steps more specifically. So you're going to get 2 opportunities to really dive in deep with her and learn from her. And I'm excited about that. And again, if you, we'll probably send out a little clip of some of her presentation from that event, so you can get a little taste of her and her expertise. Amazing information. Follow her on LinkedIn. She's got great content she puts out on a very regular basis on LinkedIn and Instagram. And so you can follow along and get to meet her and get her great content, some of it if you're not able to join us, or meet her ahead of time if you are going to join us at the symposium. Now, Greg Lavoie is someone else who is coming to speak at our event. I'm really excited to hear Greg talk. Actually, a few years ago, maybe 2018. So in 2018, I think I heard Greg talk at the Colorado Career Development Association event. And Greg has this book, Vital Signs. It's kind of fun. It's got a sign. And he talks about how we get our energy back. Here, I put it up there. Vital Signs, how we get our energy back after we've been kind of beaten down by corporate America, for the lack of a better term. But I got to tell you, and I'll tell Greg this too, that what he really changed for me is my parenting style. Because what he talks about is how we spend so much of our life in school, especially, trying to be in a container, right? Try to get in that container. We do that career-wise, we do it energy-wise. You think about kids at their desk, they do it physically, that we spend our whole life kind of being put into containers, and how for a lot of people that really diminishes our internal vibrance, our vibrance for our career, our vibrance for life. And I'm really excited to hear him talk again. And like I said, just when I think about, I have 2 very rambunctious boys. They're very loud and very boisterous. And I remember thinking about his book and how important it is for me to parent in a way that helps them keep their vitality, keep their personality, not get put into a box, not just career-wise, but with their life and with their energy. So he's a coach, he's a counselor, he's got such great depth. You're going to again hear a keynote from him, and then a coaching in-depth session for those of you who are coaches or want to do some coaching. Just excellent wisdom coaching tools that you will get from his presentation as well. And again, if you're not going to join us, grab Vital Signs, follow Greg, and you can get some of his content that way as well. And you'll meet him. I'm sure we'll get him here on video, so you can meet him on these videos as well. So that is what we are heading towards in our symposium. If you want to join us for that, I'm going to put the link up here. We are going to end the 6 payment plan and the early adopter pricing September 26th, since we'll be 7 months out. And we look forward to seeing all of you as you are, as you're available to come and meet us. We'd love to have you join us in San Diego, beautiful Kona Kai Resort. And we'll be sharing some more about our speakers as we go through the weeks leading up to the event. So we'll be talking next week a little bit more about some coaching trends and ways that you can help your clients and get deeper with them. If you have any questions or any topics that you'd like us to cover, feel free to drop me a note or send me a message, and we'd love to hear what you want us to talk about, as well as we'll be continue to bring you the trends. Thank you, everyone.